Hey guys, I am Beltran. Welcome back to my channel, and today's video subject matter is how evil is the left? How evil is the left? I make this video based on evidence and evidence alone. So here are some statistics and studies that actually affirm the following points I'm about to make. A new study compiled by Pew, the most highly regarded and non-biased research center, has shown us that the left is more intolerant, specifically to ideas and diverse opinions. 44% who identify as consistently liberal block their friends from social media based on a difference of political opinion. By contrast, only 3 out of 10 conservatives would take the same action. So I grabbed this from Dinesh D'Souza's website. So here is the following. The right wing has long complained that underneath the facade of tolerance and diversity, liberals are uniquely intolerant of different ideas, and the study of internet usage proves it. This very same Pew study shows us the left is far more likely to use online tactics, such as a call for action. This study proves the left uses the internet at a far higher rate, which leaves a window of possibilities for dogpiling and far worse. Many Americans have been politically active on social media, from encouraging others to take action to using related hashtags, and liberal Democrats were more likely than other ideological and partisan groups to have engaged in these activities, according to a new Pew Research Center analysis of survey data collected this summer. Liberal Democrats are especially likely to use social media to mobilize others or find like-minded groups. Some 44% of Liberal Democrats say they have used these sites in the past to encourage others to take action on an issue that was important to them. Now I give you a quote from Dennis Prager. Some time ago, he wrote an article called "Why People of the Left Are Meaner," and this is part of what he wrote. There are kind and mean conservatives and kind and mean liberals. Neither liberalism nor conservatism makes people kinder or meaner. But this is not the case with leftism. With the handful of exceptions that accompany every generalization, leftism makes people meaner and even crueler. I think we can take this political pundit's words because he has been at this game for over 50 years. I acknowledge now that the left has its far crueler instigators, and that the left at large is not necessarily all a monolith, but I genuinely say that reluctantly. If you go against the left, if you are an apostate, much like Islam, they will crucify you. More importantly, if you happen to be straight, white, Christian, or you expose the left, you will be a target in their sights. Enter Wilson Gavin. Wilson was a confident young man who loved his life, cherished his church life, and loved being gay. As he mentions in this video,
I'm very blessed to live in Australia, I think. And my family have always been completely supportive of my sexuality. I went to a Catholic school. The school was very supportive of my sexuality. I've never experienced overt discrimination or hatred of any type regarding my sexuality.
He was completely comfortable, and so was everyone around him. Even his church shockingly affirmed him. He was able to easily reconcile his faith with his sexuality. This is a struggle for many homosexuals. For him it wasn't. It just worked. Well, good for him. Unfortunately, however, he is being inappropriately labelled by the left as a tormented conservative who could not come to terms with being gay, and the utter guilt of what he did at the drag queen story time made him, feel so much anguish that he killed himself. This isn't true. In fact, his own parents have left a quote with news.com.au, and it goes as follows. To those who have described Wilson as a deeply troubled young man, including so-called family members, with all due respect, you never knew him. This is an important piece of information to state because no one knows him better than his family. I have reached out to family members and to close family friends to be able to find out whether he truly was a tormented soul, because I want the truth. Turns out He never was. So why did he commit suicide? His comments were made to shame him for wanting to preserve the innocence of children, which he did with a group of the LMP who chanted, "Drag time is not for kids." When a drag queen is invited to read to children and the name they go by is Diamond Good Rim, do you know what a rim job is? Well, I recently found out and it is disgusting. The government is funding this? Really? Does anyone not see what is wrong with this? These individuals should not be invited to read to impressionable children. Was his approach a good idea? Perhaps not. Yet it was clearly peaceful. Why am I referring to Wilson Gavin once again? Because he was a clear example of exactly how the regressive left specifically act out. Then, when something horrible happens, they deny and they claim it's something else. As stated before, I have recently been in communication with Wilson Gavin's family and friends, all whom confirm the narrative that he was absolutely comfortable being gay, but that he was always treated badly by the leftists for being a gay conservative because he didn't follow their way of thinking. He was dangerous. So what do you do when someone has a rising profile and they go against your particular beliefs? You show them the gun. Does anyone remember Barkley McGain? Well, he in fact was a friend of Wilson. Please listen to the following interview. What was your relationship with Wilson?
My relationship with Wilson, I've known him for 3 to 4 years now. That was through the Queensland Young Monarchist League, which he started, and then also through the LNP, which he was a member.
What was your friendship like?
Our friendship, I would say, was something that we didn't always agree on everything, but we always had common respect for each other. Many members, even within the LNP, had really distanced themselves from Wilson. The fact that I was having a 20-minute conversation the night of the event, and the night the night before he tragically took his own life, I think shows that I certainly wasn't a fair weather friend and didn't distance myself based on, some misguided actions of his own. Both myself and Wilson were elected to the UQ Union, and I publicly said that I looked forward to serving with him.
Based on what?
Unfortunately, they distanced themselves from Wilson just based on his traditional beliefs.
Many on the left are claiming that he was a tormented soul, and this is why he took his life. Do you agree with this analysis?
No. Above all else, Wilson was confident, and his Catholic faith was completely okay with him being a homosexual.
Did Wilson ever express torment over his sexuality?
Not in the slightest.
Did you read any of the comments the left had left on his social media before he took his life, and was it hateful?
Yes, I did, and without taking the attention off Wilson, I received numerous death threats and calls to kill myself, so I can only imagine it would have been much, much worse for Wilson.
Have you noticed the commentary post-death of Wilson?
Whilst I think it's good that others have changed their tone, unfortunately a large number of people still continue to celebrate his passing and even call for others to follow his path.
What are your thoughts on his protest of drag queen storytime?
Personally, I thought the protest could have been conducted better. However, I stand with the UQLNC in saying that drag queens with names like Diamond Goodrim should not receive public funding for the work they do.
Is it your opinion that Jess Origliasso of the Veronicas has contributed in some way to your friend's passing?
Look, in some way she has, but I will say that this was a massive pile-on that takes more than one person. Make no mistake, people have blood on their hands.
Look at the types of hate he received for simply reacting to the words of a person he interviewed. These comments are hateful. Okay, now enter Mel McPhee. I have far less to say about this except to offer context. Mel McPhee is a mother and a kind person who happens to hold Christian values and identifies as a conservative. Mel McPhee had a baby several years ago. Unfortunately, the baby died. Many times babies die when they come out of the womb from SIDS or they're a stillbirth. And this is the case for Mel McPhee. So what exactly did the left do to Mel McPhee? I can't imagine something worse. They tormented her about the fact that she killed her own baby. Where do they get off when they're the ones who are pro-death? They are the ones who choose the concept of killing your baby at 8 or 9 months in the womb. That's a fully developed child. Finally, to top it off, a more well-known example. Remember this guy? He is known as the Covington Kid, Nick Sandman. What was his crime? Well, check out this image here. The Amerindian man is shouting at him, an elder at a minor. Yet, somehow, this smile, this smirk is the equivalent of abuse.
But how did the media report it?
A disturbing viral video shows a group of teens harassing and mocking him in the nation's capital. Here's the video sparking outrage on social media right now.
Racist, aggressive Trump supporters viciously abused and harassed Native American veteran! They taunted him! Because, and wait for it, this is pretty damn shocking. One of the kids, who was wearing a MAGA hat, he stood there and he smirked. Cue a leftist hate mob sharpening their digital pitchforks to engage in the most vile social justice witch hunt ever seen.
I'm certainly in favour of building a wall around Covington Catholic High School in Kentucky, and let's electrify it to keep those disgusting punks from getting loose and creating more violence in society. White people really are terrorists! Whiteness is terrorism!
Hello, FBI. I would like to report a terrorist.
MAGA kids go screaming. Hat first. Enter the wood chipper.
I want you to fire on any of these red hat bitches when you see them on sight. Lock the kids in the school and burn that bitch to the ground. Burn the fucking school down!
From elementary school through college, I went to school with sheltered, upper middle class white boys who could devastate with a smirk. A facial gesture that weaponized their privilege. Infuriatingly, you can't fight that fucking smirk with a punch of words.
I finish off with this example because CNN and every fake stream media outlet jumped on the dogpiling, which is honestly a serious problem. Dogpiling on an individual does not help them. You are aiding them in a pressure cooker of self-hate, which can lead one to harm. Yes, a person who commits suicide chooses that option. But if nobody were to say anything, this individual could come to these conclusions on their own and realize what they did wrong and then self-reflect on that. Rather, they are self-reflecting on the hatred that you are pouring onto them. By processing all of that, they are burdened and inundated with constant barrages and tsunamis of hatred. And then they think that it won't get better. It gets better. But you are not helping with your dogpiling. Also, remember James Charles, a young gay beauty guru whom everyone decided was a villain based on the story of this woman named Tati, whom I believe to be talented but also somewhat calculating and possibly manipulative. I'm not someone who really watches a whole lot of makeup channels, but this story broke out. I remember how many people were jumping on to hate this guy. Probably has somewhat leftist views. He's a young boy, he was a cover girl, he's gay, he wears makeup. I don't want to stereotype him as a lefty because he might not be, but the point is that he has all of the criteria you would think that would make people want to jump to his defense. But instead, everyone decided to hate on him and he lost millions of followers. And I remember thinking, I'm not going to dogpile on him. I want to see what happens, and I watched it play out. And it turns out he made a very, very good video, 40 minutes long, explaining exactly what happened. And Tati ended up looking like the moron. She ended up being in the wrong, and some people wanted to pile on just because it was the fashionable thing to do. I don't know what you did, but F you. Wow, that's the left. Where is the compassion for a young gay man who could have committed suicide with everything that he went through?
Why do you think people are so quick to hate?
I think that it's more fun for a lot of people, and people like kind of get enjoyment out of it, which is really sad.
So, I hope you are convinced by my examples and by my arguments. To clarify, I am not saying that this never occurs on the right. What I can say freely is that one side tends to dominate more in this dogpiling pattern of behavior than the other. It is inexcusable on both sides. One side is causing more problems of this nature. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to share, like, subscribe and comment. Remember to go over to my BitChute account and also to subscribe to Rational Rise TV.